right. Well, when I sent in my description for this sermon, I mentioned making sure that you have a stone that you can hold as I preach. And if for some reason you were unable to do that, look around you and find something to hold that has a similar shape and size to a stone or a rock. And once you have your rock or stone, I want you to hold on to it while I preach. This sermon is a bit more interactive, even through the power of Zoom. And I'm going to prompt you from time to time to meditate on your rock. And that will begin now. And right now, I want you to hold it in your hand. Feel it, the weight of it, the shape of it, the coolness or warmth of it. As you hold it, does it become a part of you? Does it take on your warmth? Does your hand take on some of the coolness of the rock? I promise you, by the end of this service, your hands will carry the scent of the rock. The rock may hold the scent of your hand when we're done today. It's funny, isn't it? How quickly something we hold becomes a part of us and us a part of it. As our warmth is imparted into the stone, we may stop noticing the rock fully. It's no longer cold in our hand, it takes on our body temperature. It simply becomes an extension of who and what we are. No thought is needed, as it just is. Maybe we don't even notice that we're holding it anymore. And from time to time, we may notice the weight, but most of the time it becomes such a part of us that we notice it no more than we notice a watch on our arm or a piece of jewelry around our neck or an item of clothing. Once we no longer notice it as readily, do we notice when we grip it? Or do we simply notice the tension in our fingers as we hold it? I want you to shift your attention to that sensation now. Is the rock just resting in your hand, or are you gripping it tightly, somewhere in between? As you're able, I want you to tighten that grip on the rock. And we won't do it for long, and you're free to open your hand whenever you need to. Isn't that how we sometimes are with things we care about? We hold on to them so tightly that sometimes our fingers ache. People, things, positions, responsibilities, relationships. Sometimes they serve us as much as we serve them, and we stop noticing the weight, the cramp in our fingers, the pain that starts to develop. It simply becomes a part of it, part of us. We may notice once the weight and the pain is gone, but not while it's there. So go ahead and release the grip on the rock if you haven't already. And notice how quickly you notice it again. Things shift and change, and suddenly everything comes into focus. The weight of the rock, the feeling of it in our hands, the sensation of our fingers gripping it. Now just let it rest in your hand and bring your attention back here, if it isn't already. So why am I having you hold on to a rock today? Well, the past few years have been hard. I know in my conversational circles, this has felt like 2020 part 3. We're holding so tight in anticipation of what may or may not happen next year. In the midst of that single global event that we are collectively anxious about, there's also climate change, war, aggression, etc. Here in the United States, we're also dealing with the continual attacks on human rights and the violence against so many groups of people. And then there's Florida. Those are all collective things that we are holding tight in our hearts, our body, our mind. But what about the individual things? Health issues, financial issues, relationship issues, jobs that may be sucking the life force out of you, duties and responsibilities that others have placed on you that you don't think you want to do anymore. Sometimes, more often than not, it's been little things you've been holding on to for so long, and it might be time to set them down. Things you've picked up along the way that no one has given you permission or blessing to put down, even though you've held the authority yourself to set those things down. Letting go of things is hard to do. As we've noticed so far, these things, like our rocks, become a part of us. The warmth and the weight is familiar, and we don't know what we'd do if we weren't holding it anymore. Now, I'd like you to put your rock in your lap for a moment, or set it down in front of or next to you. Do you suddenly notice the lack of the rock in your hand? The weight has been lifted, the warmth suddenly gone, Is it unsettling to have that thing that has been there to be suddenly gone? Maybe not. After all, this has only been a few minutes. But imagine with me, though, if you'd been holding this rock for hours or days or weeks or longer. How would the sudden loss of this rock feel now? Perhaps the urge is there to put it back in your hand, to feel the comfort of it again, the familiar shape of it, weight of it, smell of it. And you can. There's nothing stopping you. After all, you know this rock. This rock is yours. You've held on to it for a while. Okay, not this rock necessarily, but I'm sure by now you're starting to follow my metaphor. When we've held on to things for a while, there is comfort in having them there, even if it's not healthy, even if it's no longer serving us, even if it's actually causing us damage. Place your rock in your hand again, and I want you to think about what you have to do the rest of your day. What if I asked you to carry that rock in one hand all day? Can you do what you have planned? Is it difficult? Are there other things you'll be giving up because you're holding on to this rock? Now, this rock may be awesome, and there are still things you can't do while you're holding on to it. Now, over this last year, I've seen that this is a theme for me, my friends, my family, my congregants, for, well, all of us, really. We're holding on to things that may or may not be serving us. We're holding on to things that we may or may not enjoy. And we're holding on to things that may or may not even make us happy. You are holding on. And we may be holding on to great things. We may not. Honestly, it's hard to tell when we're holding on to it. Now, wrap your hands around your rock right now and try to look at it without removing your hands. Can you find the details that make your rock different from another's rock? You might be able to feel them, but can you see them? Do you even remember now what your rock looked like from when you picked it up earlier? Letting go isn't always a permanent thing. Sometimes it is, of course, but that's not the kind of letting go I'm talking about today. I'm talking about the first step of letting go, which is setting it down. Setting it down to look at it and see if this is something you should pick up again. Some things might be, some things won't, and only you can decide that. Now, in a few moments, I'm going to invite you, as you're willing, to take part in a little ritual with me. There'll be a few components to this, so I'm going to explain it all now and then move you through it as we go. I'm going to ask you in a few moments to think about something you're holding on to, something that may be weighing on you that you don't know if you're ready to move away from, something that you might be ready to give up, but you're not sure for whatever reason, something that you know you're holding on to that you're ready to let go of, but maybe you're just not sure how to go about it. Whatever that is to you is what I would like you to focus on. And in a few moments, we'll sit in quiet meditation for a few moments while you place the idea of whatever that is for you into the rock in your hand. Then, after a few moments, I'm going to invite you, when you're ready, and only if you're ready, to set your rock down. Now, if we were gathered together in a physical space this morning, I'd invite you to come to the front of the room to set those rocks down. So when you do this part, I encourage you to picture that in your mind. Now, we aren't throwing them away. We're not burying them. We're not getting rid of them. We're just going to set them down for a little bit. Once we've made time for that, I'll have a few more words and then I'll turn it back over so we can wrap up the service. Rev Tracie, you said we don't have to get rid of things right away. You're right. I did say that, and I mean it. That's where the third part comes into play. Again, if we were in a shared physical space, I'd invite you to leave those rocks at the front and leave them there if you could. Obviously, your rock is still right here. Now, once we have finished the service, if you feel the need to still hold on to whatever this is, or to keep it closer without holding it, then I invite you to pick up your rock after we're done and set it somewhere you can see it every day. And if you can, write on it or write on a sticky note and place that on the rock to remind you what it is that you're thinking about letting go. And then when you're ready, whether that is today or later, if you are ready, you can rinse the rock off, if it's a keeper rock from your own collection, or put it somewhere else outside of your home if it's a stray rock. Now I'll go over this again at the end, and I'll answer any questions about it during our conversation time. So let us begin. First, hold your rock with both hands. Close your eyes as you're comfortable. You can even turn off your camera for now if that makes you more comfortable. Take a deep breath with me. If something has bubbled up for you during this time, I want you to think about it. Name it, give it shape and form, and with a deep breath, place that into this rock. Continue to hold it for a few moments and breathe with us. And we'll enter a time of silence, and I'll ring my singing bowl to bring you back into this space. Now I want you to bring your attention back to your space and my voice. Thinking of what your rock symbolizes, I want you to think about if you're ready to set it down. As you do, hear the words of Peter Fredericks in his poem, Release. I wish I were like the trees, who let their leaves go gracefully without regret, or the tumbling stream that flushes silt to the sea, exchanging murkiness for blessed clarity, or the dandelion who bows its head to the subtle breeze, unleashing its future without fear or loss. Instead, I drive white-knuckled, defensive, as we were taught, tense and guarded for what may come my way. I keep a death grip on my life. If you asked me for my dying wish, it would not be for 10 more wishes. It would be to let go of wishing anymore. Wishing I'd made different choices and that I hadn't hurt you as I did. And to forego these old and dusty grudges that I keep like pictures in a shoebox beside my bed. I long to embrace my life with a lover's touch, or as you would an injured wren, precious, tender, true. Instead, regret and fear, twin anchors hold me fast, close in against the shore. Cast off, I hear them call from the open, exotic lands my heart yearns for. But the waters in between my here and theirs hold unknown hazards, unlike this dark, familiar port. This day, a prayer to ease my grip on what once was, or what is meant to be, that I may find myself content to drift and float upon life's boundless sea. Now, if you're ready to ease your grip on what it is you're holding on to, I invite you to simply place your rock down. That's it. Just set it down. When you do, imagine yourself walking forward in a shared space and setting the rock down on a table before you. Now, notice the feeling in your hands. Notice not the emptiness. Instead, notice the space that has been created for breathing room, for something new, for something you have not been able to grasp because the rock was taking up the space. I invite you to sit with that for a moment. Thich Nhat Hanh says, if you are ruminating about the past or worrying about the future, you will completely miss the experience. The past is finished. Learn from it and let it go. The future is not even here yet. Plan for it, but do not waste your time worrying about it. Worrying is worthless. When you stop ruminating about what has already happened, When you stop worrying about what might never happen, then you will be in the present moment. Then you will begin to experience joy in life. Now, wherever you have placed your rock, I want to encourage you to leave it there today. Now, I understand if you're not ready, if you need to sit with it a little longer to think about it. Once our worship has finished, if you need to hold on to your rock a bit more, then I invite you to make a note, literally, on that rock or next to that rock of what it is you want to set down. Now, if you don't need to hold on to your rock any longer, may you enjoy the moments without a heavy weight in your hand, and may whatever is next for you find its way into your open and willing hand. And for those of you who need a little more time, remember that is what is at the end of letting go. As we start this new year, what might be available to us if we keep our hands open and willing to experience joy in its fullness? Amen. May it be so, and blessed be.